Aloha, this is Dr. Steve again. This is chapter 2 out of our ITS 227 textbook on HTML basics. We're going to be taking a look at some stuff on HTML, HTML5. We're going to identify exactly what a markup language is. We're going to look at some basic parts, the head, the DDT, title, and some meta tags. We'll configure the body, we'll configure some text and phrase elements. And we'll kind of do a whole bunch of things. This is going to be the first of the two lectures on the coding chapters. Most coding chapters will have two parts. We're going to look at, in this case, we'll look at special characters, anchor elements, absolute and relative, hyperlinks, really important, how to code, save, and display, and testing a web page. Okay, let's take a look. So what exactly is HTML? This is a set of markup symbols or codes that are placed in a file, turn a flat ASCII kind of file. We're going to use Notepad++. You can download it for free. Most of the things that we call in HTML are called elements. Okay, one element. Each element has a purpose, and elements begin. They're coded as pairs of tags. Most of the containers, and they begin with the angle brackets less than and greater than symbols. If it's not a container tag, it's an open tag or a void tag. Okay, so lots of different versions of HTML. We're going to be doing HTML5. It's supported by modern browsers. It's backwards compatible. Adds some new elements or some functionality. There's a native audio and video tag in there. It's a lot better than the earlier versions. So I think you'll like it. The first thing you have to do is do what's called a document type definition, a DDT. This is just a statement to identify, to tell the browser what kind of rules are going to be used in this document. Now, it used to be in older HTML or HTML, you had this really long doc type command here. See the exclamation doc type HTML blah blah blah. Now it's just less than exclamation doc type HTML greater than. That's it. It's simple. Here's a nice little example. Here you have the document definition. Then we begin the HTML itself. You see it is a paired tag. It's a container. There's HTML at the beginning, the HTML at the end, the / HTML at the end. You have a head, which is also a container, a title, which is a container, a body, which is also a container. You see some of the tags are on a separate line. Some are on the same line. Like title, you see both the opening and closing are on the same line. That's because usually the title's pretty short and it's easier to read. But either way is fine. Doesn't matter. It's kind of up to you. I like doing indentations. It's helpful. It makes it easier to read. This example here does not have indentations. In the future, you'll see examples will, and you'll see it's much easier to read. Okay, so there's that head section. The head section is where certain information goes, meta tags go. This is where a lot of the processing goes, right? The head is where you process, and the body is what is shown. What's in the head is not shown. What's in the body is shown. So here's some example here. Here's a Notepad or Notepad++ with all the tags, and then if you were to open it up in a browser, it would say something like this: "Hello world." Yeah, go ahead, pause, do this, so you can get that hello world thing out of the way. Now, besides the head tag, there's also heading tags, which are like H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. These are actually things that come from the publishing industry, from the newspaper industry. Here you have a paragraph element. You see this. This is a container. You have an opening P, then a closing P at the end, then whatever else you want shows up here. A paragraph tag, like a lot of these tags are block displayed, which means that it has a little bit of empty space above and below. You can configure those things as well, how much space above and below you want, which is kind of cool. But there's a default amount that goes there. Usually it's like one separate line. Okay, here's a line break, the BR break. Now this is not block type. There's no extra space involved. And it just says create a new line. It is also an empty tag or a void or standalone. There's just one part to it. Here's a block quote element. Now block quote is, as it sounds like, it's for a quote, for a longish quote. It does an indentation and does a certain amount of formatting. You can control this as well. Please only use this block quote for quotes. Do not use it to just indent. There are other ways of indenting. Here's a table of some other phrase elements. These are all in the book. And again, these phrase elements are short. They don't have block formatting at all. It's just it's right inline formatting. You have block and inline, the two options. Okay, nesting. This is really important. Things have to be nested properly. That is, the tags have to have the beginning and end inside of the other tags. You see how this is done here? P is on the outside as the paragraph. Then you have I for italics, and you have strong. Each thing is encompassed inside the other, and you see the display is down below. If it's not properly nested, you get some funny looking things. Lists are really important in web pages. Lists are real easy, short ways of putting information out there. One is called an unordered list. That is, you have like bullet points or squares or empty circles. That's just a UL, unordered list, and then LI, list items. So it's something like here, TCP/IP, HTTP, FTP, that sort of thing. And let's look at that coded. If I can just get to the next slide. There we go. There you go. UL, and you see LI, end LI, right, /LI. So each of the LIs creates in this case, a disk. That's the default unordered list. You can also modify that, and everything is configurable in style sheets and attributes. Okay, now there's the ordered list. So if we look at unordered list, there's no particular sequencing. An ordered list has a sequence. Things are ordered for a particular reason. I don't know what, but for whatever reason you have. You might want something listed as 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. Apply to school, register for the course, pay the tuition, then attend the course. So it's an ordered list, OL and OL at the end. Then all the LIs, same as the other one. Then you have a description list. It used to be called a definition list. This is a little bit different. You have 3 tags here. You have the DL, the DT, and the DD. A little bit different. But the bookends are the DL. Here you see example. Here's a DL, and the ends with the DL. Then the document, then the definition term. Here you have IP. Then the definition, if you will. Okay, so at this point we should be able to describe features of the heading and other elements. And I'll go on to special characters. Special characters are things that you have to code slightly differently. You always begin with an ampersand and end with a semicolon. For example, if you want to copyright, you go ampersand copy semicolon. If you want that less than symbol, it's ampersand LT, like less than, and semicolon greater than GT, ampersand AMP, a non-breaking space NBSP. So ampersand NBSP semicolon. This forces a space in there that the browser would otherwise just kind of ignore. A browser tends to just ignore spaces. If it's a non-breaking space, it will not ignore it. Then you have the div element. Now the div element is really important. This allows you to put all kinds of things together, and you can control it. You can format it. It becomes like a single unit. Besides the div element, you can use things like the header, nav, main, and footer. These are structural elements that you'll use continuously in all your pages. And they are used, as you might guess, nav for navigation. Here's a typical structure, if you will. You have a body, you have a header, you have nav, you have main. You probably have some divs inside there, and you have the footer at the end of the body. So all these things are nested within each other. This is a common kind of structure. You're not limited to this, but this is pretty common. Anchors, that's that A tag. Anchor, this creates the hyperlink. You have an A, href, so hypertext reference, href, and then the pathway to the page. In this case, it's just a file called contact.html. You could have an absolute link where it goes outside, so it's ahref equals, quote, http : wherever you're going. In this case, you're saying go out to the internet and find yahoo.com. You see the anchor, it's the end of the anchor, so it is a container. So a relative link could be something that's on your own website. So it doesn't really need to go HTTP, it doesn't go outside, it stays inside. And of course, I mentioned before, you have an email link. Notice the syntax is a little bit different. It's ahref equals, quote, mail to, colon, so there's no forward slashes. A typical website is put in a hierarchical structure. It might look something like this. You have a home that you start off with, and you have links to services. Within that, then links to contact, and probably back and forth. So it becomes kind of a hierarchical kind of thing. Okay, hey, almost finished this part. You should be able to describe the special characters, absolute relative linking, that sort of thing. And of course, you want to check things, make sure they're valid. Another set of eyes is really helpful. If you don't have those, you can go to that validation page. Okay, hope you got an idea. Aloha.